Are you ready to dig into it? Or do I just own it and just say better?
I really like this version. It has a little bit more zing.
So today we're going to be making some takeout favorites that are faster, fresher, cheaper, and in my opinion, better. Is that too high? Is that better? So we order takeout a couple of nights a week, and we live in the Netherlands where food deliveries are actually cycled over to you. But by the time the restaurant makes it, it gets picked up, it gets brought over, it can take a while, and sometimes the food isn't as hot and fresh anymore, and it can also get pretty expensive over time. So today we're gonna be making some takeout favorites that are faster, fresher, cheaper, and dare I say better. Let's get started. When I was in university, I was properly obsessed with garlic chili noodles. I used to order it all the time. They're slurpalicious, incredibly flavorful, but often also swimming in a pool of oil. So I'm gonna show you two different ways to make this recipe today. One is the restaurant way, which uses plenty of oil. And the other one, let's call it the home cook way. This one's gonna be using less oil, but in both versions, they're equally fast to make. You're gonna be able to make it in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. But once you do start cooking, everything goes really, really fast. So it helps to have everything out and ready to go. So there's only two things for this recipe that we need to exercise our knife skills on. We've got 6 cloves of garlic. I know it seems like a lot, but it is called garlic chili noodles and it's delicious. And then we're gonna thinly slice a stalk of green onion, keeping the lighter and dark green parts separate. And this is all that we need for the aromatics. And then we're gonna need 225 grams of noodles. We're using these beautiful flat Taiwanese ribbon noodles. And we'll need some neutral tasting oil. And then we're gonna need a tablespoon of gochugaru. So gochugaru is made from Korean dried red chili flakes, and usually the seeds are actually removed before it's blended up. So it's not all that spicy. It offers a delicious, wonderful, unique flavor. It's well worth having this as a staple in your pantry. We just got ours from our local Asian supermarket. But if you can't find it, you can use dried chili flakes instead, but just a heads up, dried chili flakes, a lot more spicy, so start with less. Then we're gonna need 2 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, but regular soy sauce is also fine. And then 1 teaspoon of black rice vinegar. So that's all that we need for the seasonings. So black rice vinegar has a deep, robust flavor that's a little bit smoky and also a little bit sweet. At least it's sweeter than like red and white vinegars. If you can't find this though, which we just got from our local Asian supermarket as well, you could use just regular rice vinegar instead. So that's it for the base of this recipe. You only need 7 ingredients, but I'm personally gonna add 2 more things. One, I think it's missing some greens. Whenever I used to order this dish from restaurants, it never came with any kind of veggies. And I think adding some bok choy or broccolini are great because they require essentially 0 prep aside from washing them. And then the recipe is also missing some kind of protein, and I love some frozen edamame. These are quick and easy to cook up, and then you can serve it on the side. So now that our 9 ingredients are in front of us and ready to go, we can start cooking. We're gonna start with the restaurant style version of this recipe and watch how quickly this all comes together. So we're gonna start with cooking the noodles, which for us only takes 3 minutes. Once the noodles are cooked, we're gonna use some tongs to remove them from the water and place them into our serving bowls. To that same boiling water that the noodles were cooking in, we're gonna add the bok choy and the edamame and let this cook for just a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, let's heat up a 1/4 cup of oil in a saucepan. Usually a restaurant would use even more oil than this, probably double the amount, but I think a 1/4 cup is good enough for what we're going to do. But you don't want to use less than that either. You'll see why in a second. While the oil heats up, we're gonna divide the soy sauce and vinegar over each bowl. Then we're gonna add the gochugaru. You wanna pile it right in the middle of the bowl, followed by the lighter part of the green onion, and then finally the minced garlic. This is a lot of garlic for this version of the recipe, considering that it's raw, so if you do wanna use less, go for it. When the oil is hot and steaming, we're gonna pour it over the garlic and gochugaru that's piled in the middle of our bowl, and that hot oil is gonna flash fry the garlic. This is why you don't want to use less oil. You need sufficient amounts so that it properly kind of momentarily heats up and cooks the garlic and the chili. Now we can mix everything together. Make sure to serve the cooked bok choy on the side and add any other toppings that you'd like. And then for the protein, we're serving our steaming hot edamame on the side. So this is one way that you make the noodles, but I'm gonna show you another way to do it right now. And then at the end, we're gonna do a side-by-side taste test comparison. So in this version, we're gonna start with cooking the noodles first. And while it's cooking away, we're gonna heat up 2 tablespoons only this time of oil. So it's half the amount of oil than the previous version. Then we're gonna add in the garlic and the lighter part of the green onion, and we're gonna cook this for a couple of minutes. Then we can add the gochugaru and cook this for 1 minute more just to toast it. We'll drop the heat and then add the soy sauce, vinegar, and the cooked noodles. This time we can use the noodle cooking water to cook the broccolini and the edamame for a couple of minutes. All that's left for this is to plate it, serve it up with the broccolini on the side and garnish it, and you're ready to dig into it. Okay, so taste testing time. You guys know Robin loves noodles, so he's gonna help weigh in on this. We've got the restaurant version here, you're already digging in, where you pour some sizzling hot oil over top of it, kind of flash fries and cooks the garlic and stuff. This one though is all cooked in the pan and uses less oil. I'm curious if you notice the difference.
Well, I get to start with the restaurant style one.
Yeah.
This is really good. No, I like this version.
Okay, wait, try this one then.
No, they are different though. Yeah.
Okay, what did you think? Which one was your favorite?
This one.
Yeah?
The restaurant style one. It's a little bit more saucy. It has a little bit more zing.
Yeah, the garlic is a bit more intense, and I think that's why I like this one, because it's been cooked, it's more caramelized, the flavors are more well-rounded, smokier.
Yeah.
But anyway, I welcome you guys to try both. It takes 10 to 15 minutes to make, and it's like a little science experiment to see how a small change in your preparation method can lead to some pretty different flavors overall, even though it's the same ingredients. Next, we're making a speedy tofu tikka masala. So my go-to takeout is usually some kind of Asian noodles or Indian food. And when it comes to Indian food, I like it when it's creamy and saucy, something I can have with some warm naan or some rice. And this recipe checks all of those boxes. So let's start with chopping a large tomato, and we'll coarsely chop a 1/4 cup of cashews. We can set these aside for now. Then we're gonna heat up some oil in a large pan, and while that's heating up, let's cut our tofu into about 1 to 2 centimeter cubes. So traditionally, tikka masala is made by marinating chicken in spices and yogurt and then roasting it in the oven, but we're doing a plant-based version with tofu, and we're not marinating, so that's what speeds this recipe up. So let's transfer the tofu to the pan to cook and try not to disturb it too much. When we keep stirring the tofu, we aggravate it. That can cause it to crumble, so for now we're just gonna let it sit, and in the meantime we're gonna heat up some oil in another large pan. While that heats up, we'll chop an onion, and then we can add the chopped onion to the pan, cooking this for about 3 minutes. And we'll add a teaspoon of brown mustard seeds and cook this for another 2 minutes. Then we're gonna grate in about 1 tablespoon of ginger, but watch this. If you use fresh ginger like this, you'll see it takes a really long time to grate, and that's because the fibers kind of get in the way. But I usually try to make sure that I have some frozen ginger available, because this grates way more easily. The fibers are frozen, look at that. So it just snaps off. Then we'll add 2 tablespoons of tikka masala seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. Then toast this for another minute to bloom the spices. This tikka masala seasoning we got from our local Asian supermarket. It's made up of like cumin, coriander, turmeric, cinnamon, and some other spices, so it has a lovely kind of warm flavor and aroma. If you can't find this though, we actually just uploaded a brand new recipe on making this yourself at home if you'd like to. Now, let's deglaze the pan with the chopped tomato. We'll add 1/2 cup of an unsweetened plant-based yogurt, 3/4 cup of a vegan cooking cream. We're using soy cooking cream. Plus we'll add 3 tablespoons of tomato paste and the chopped cashews. And we're gonna cook this for about 5 minutes. All the while, we can check on the tofu here and there, giving it a flip every once in a while, and when all the sides are golden, we're gonna add it to the pan with the sauce and stir it through. You can serve this dish with some freshly cooked basmati rice, or my personal favorite is to serve it with some naan. The naan that we're using is actually a store-bought version, but we do have a recipe on our website for a garlic and herb naan if you do wanna give it a go yourself at home. I'll leave the recipe link for you in the description box below. Now this final step is an important one. Squeeze some lime or lemon juice over top the dish, give it a stir, and then you can serve it up. This tikka masala is bursting at the seams with flavor, and it's the best thing to dunk some warm and fluffy naan into. So these are just 2 of my personal favorite takeouts, but I'm curious to know what yours are, and if there's any that you want us to veganize, let us know and leave it in the comments below. If you're looking for even more weeknight quick dinner recipes, we've got a video that I'll link for you here and several other videos that I'll link for you in the description box below. And thanks so much for hanging with us today. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and Pickup Lives signing off. We'll see you in the next video. The hot oil is gonna fresh fly. The hot oil is gonna fresh fly. Wow. The hot oil is gonna flash fly the, ow, 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 ow. And then roasting them in the oven until nothing. I personally. Nope. I'll just do one at a time. And this recipe checks all of those boxes.
I want to ask happy, but you don't seem very happy.
And in the meantime, we're just gonna add some oil to another large pan. And another one. You heard it too, right? Then we're gonna grate in about 1 tablespoon of ginger, but watch this. If I'm using fresh ginger like this, it takes, oh, this is the frozen one. I was like, that worked really well.